let's come back to JP Morgan for a second and the other banks on Wall Street, the other bankers around the world. You know, they're obviously not going to give up a fight. And so the question is, are bankers going to ruin the party for us at Bitcoin? Can they ruin the party? Steve Mnuchin has been talking about bringing in some last-minute legislature that might be disruptive to Bitcoin, et cetera. What's going on there?
Listen, maybe I'm not supposed to say this, but a lot of the narratives that we have going on in Bitcoin right now, like, you know, digital gold and number go up, store of value, stuff like that, they're Trojan horses for Wall Street. Wall Street's going to come in, they're going to bid this thing up, they're going to pump the price, they're going to pump everybody's bags, and they're not going to realize that the underlying technology is fully sovereign, fully anarchic, and is set to destroy and dissolve power structures. Or maybe they do realize that, and Wall Street is just perennially good at getting in ahead of the state and directing the state basically to fulfill Wall Street's wishes.
Do they have the tools to be disruptive? In other words, in the gold market, we know that price discovery is broken because of the presence of gold derivatives and the ability to just print sell orders to keep the price down. And JP Morgan actually has paid billions in fine because they were caught doing exactly that. But as the Bitcoin market becomes bigger, becomes more institutional, and you see Bitcoin futures trading, the CME, and all these other exchanges involved, do they have the tools to keep the price down and turn it into another gold-like situation, Hodl?
You know, I think that that's a concern of many people, that they think that we can be co-opted the same way gold was co-opted. And if you look at, you know, the gold price chart over the last 50 years, since 1971, since Nixon closed the gold window, you just see a long history of manipulation there by the powers that be, right? And gold's big problem is the thing that gold bugs are most ardent about, which is its physicality. Gold, because it's so physical and so heavy and so hard to transport and so hard to move around, it can easily be centralized, right? But if you try and co-opt Bitcoin in the same way, you can be hard forked off, you can be soft forked off. Like, the Bitcoin community does not have to recognize your co-option of Bitcoin. So it's a very tricky question, and we'll wait to see what the future holds. But there are a lot of tools at our disposal to allow us to not be co-opted by Wall Street and by the big banks.
Paul Tudor Jones mentioned, quote, Bitcoin is a bet on humanity and human ingenuity, whereas gold is a bet against it. Your response?
Big time. I couldn't agree with him more. It's, you know, Peter Thiel has this great framework in his book 0 to 1, where he talks about, you know, indefinite optimist, definite optimist, et cetera. And when you look at the baby boomer generation, which most of the gold bugs are from, a lot of them were indefinite optimists. And the yin yang of that is that the boomers also had definite pessimists in their cohort. And those people are the gold bugs. They are ultimately super pessimistic. They do not believe in, you know, the Jetsons future that we all want to see. And Bitcoiners are just whole cloth the opposite. We are definite optimists. We are much more like the greatest generation who, you know, we're like, what are we going to do? We're going to go kick Hitler's I'm not allowed to swear. We're going to go kick Hitler's We're going to go to the moon. We're going to come home. We're going to have a bunch of kids. We're going to invent the backyard barbecue. It's going to be the boom times, kid, right? And I think we're much more like that, which is like, we have a plan. We want to see humanity prosper. And Bitcoin is a bet on a positive future, not a negative doom and gloom future where you slide back into the dark ages. And honestly, if you want to bet on that, buy guns and ammo and whiskey and prescription pills, because they're going to be a lot better investment than gold, you know?
Wow, American hodler. You should be known as the greatest hodler. Thanks for being on the Keiser Report.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Keiser Report with me, Max Keiser, and Stacey Herbert. Want to thank our guest, American Hodler. Until next time, bye, y'all.